The iPhone 15 Pro has been out for about a month and a half now, and I've been struggling figuring out what to do with a review video of the iPhone that stands out from the crowd. You've already seen the specs, you've already seen the redesign, you've already seen details about the camera, but the perspective for this video will be a little bit different. A couple of weeks ago, I was getting coffee from my local coffee shop, and the employee behind the register asked if this was the new iPhone 15 Pro, and I said yes. That employee went on to ask me if it was worth the upgrade, and I asked, well, what phone do you have? And she said, the iPhone 14. This shifted my perspective in how to respond to this type of question, and then informs this video because in that short amount of time, we can't get into the nitty-gritty details of a ProMotion display, the slight improvements to the camera's aperture, what the increased performance impact will be on your actual day-to-day, and if you game, do you care about the ability to play AAA games on a small display? Funny enough, that last point about gaming is I think where the biggest potential for the iPhone 15 Pro is, and where the future opportunities for the Pro version of iPhones really lie. So my cop-out answer is it depends. Truth be told, if you're on an iPhone 14, you can probably skip the 15, but I still think there's some cool stuff that the iPhone 15 Pro is doing, so let's talk about it. Hey, Danny with the DMGT here, your new favorite place for all things music, gaming, and tech, and before we get into this video, let's talk about Into the AM. Gamers, are you ever selecting your outfits like you pick your fighters and you're like, these skins suck, I don't like these, I wish there were better shirts I could wear? Well, you're in luck. Our friends over at Into the AM sent us these really cool graphic tees, and not only do they look good, they feel really good. The material's really soft. They fit very nicely even on our bigger boy bodies. There are so many options and designs to choose from to pick the shirt that you like the best, and it'll have you emoting like this in real life. Not only that, they also have some really nice basic tees if you want to keep it simple and keep it classy. Into the AM has long sleeve tees, Henleys, hoodies, sweaters, button-up shirts, and best of all, you can save 10% by using the discount code DMGT at checkout, clicking the link in the description, or by simply following the QR code on screen, and the discount code will automatically be applied. Yes, we will be making a little bit of kickback for every purchase made using our code, but hey, we actually really like these shirts, so elevate your wardrobe with Into the AM. Okay, so I have the iPhone 15 Pro Max. I've been using it for a month and a half, and as a small-time content creator, the improvements to the camera, the battery life, the performance, the ability to shoot in ProLog, all of that is great, and I am going to talk about that in a moment, but let's talk about one of the very first things that someone's going to notice about the iPhone 15, and that is the design. It's not a significant change, but the rounded edges are so much more pleasant in the hand rather than the sharp edges that we had on iPhones 12 to 14. This is particularly noticeable on the 15 Pro Max because it's a bigger display, it's a heavier phone, so not having a sharp edge jamming into your pinky is such a first-world problem, but it is an improvement. Now, I had originally downsized from the 13 Pro Max to the 14 Pro, and now I'm back to the 15 Pro Max, and while I do enjoy the smaller form factor of the base Pros, the bigger physical battery and improved battery life is too much to give up moving forward. On normal usage, I can go a whole day without needing to charge. I can maybe push that to the next morning, and that's with shooting multiple videos a day, albeit smaller form factor ones, and using LumaFusion to edit those videos. The slight increase in brightness is obviously welcome, especially if you're in direct sunlight, but that's not necessarily a night and day difference that I think is going to sell you on an upgrade. As far as the action button goes, that's one of the changes that I personally am really enjoying, and I'm actually using it daily. I have mine set to the flashlight. I'm using my flashlight all the time. I'm not having any problems with it turning on in my pocket by accident, and that quick access to your camera or your flashlight, or even setting to your own custom shortcut, I think is a convenience that most people did not expect to be as impactful as it is. I'm a fan of the action button. I literally never touched my mute switch, so this is actually more useful now. The other big change is obviously USB-C. Look, this one's a little bit trickier because not all USB-C cables are made the same. I've personally been switching over all my devices to USB-C since 2016 with the Touch Bar MacBook Pro. However, some of those old cables weren't compatible with my phone. I tried plugging one into my car to use CarPlay and it wasn't working. And that's because on iPhone 15 Pro Max at least, you need a cable rated for at minimum 18 watts. It's not a massive problem, but considering that USB-C is supposed to be universal, it gets a little annoying to figure out which cable you need. On the flip side of that, the ability to plug in way more accessories directly to your phone rather than needing a USB to Lightning adapter is way more convenient. Recording to external SSD for ProLog. I think particularly for music creators is going to be really helpful because you can plug in USB-C hubs and then have like your guitar interface, a small MIDI keyboard, or even sharing a charge with a friend if you have more battery. There's some specific scenarios here, but usually it works. All in all, I'm taking the pros with the cons of USB-C, and it's just going to get better over time. Speaking of recording ProLog directly to an external device, let's talk about the two other things that I think the average person is actually going to notice in this phone: the camera and the gaming performance. If you're in the habit of taking a lot of photos, a lot of video, and not even just for content creation, just for sharing, 5x optical zoom with the improved aperture and recording in ProLog is actually really nice. I think by now people are figuring out that the in-house processing that Apple is doing with photos and video out of the box are probably being a little bit too aggressive. iPhone 14 Pro had already introduced ProRAW photos, but the improved sensor, aperture, and 5x optical zoom is adding an additional layer of dimension to your creativity when taking photos, and having ProLog out of the box without needing to pay for an additional camera app to fine-tune color correction in your video is such a nice addition. As far as the out-of-box improvements to photo and video from the iPhone 14 Pro, it's not really that big of a difference, with the exception of low-light photos and video. I have enjoyed taking better photos and videos at concerts while sitting a little bit further back in the crowd. Of course, posting it to your Instagram story or on TikTok is just gonna compress the hell out of it, but at least a raw file is an improvement. And last but certainly not least, let's talk about gaming. I'm gonna be very blunt here. The ability to play a AAA game like Resident Evil Village, which is really the only game I've played so far, is closer to a cool party trick rather than a viable way to play AAA games. It technically works and it is playable, but it's clunky, frames are dropping all the time. Maybe it's just a need for more patches, but no amount of resolution changes, settings changes seem to make any significant change to the performance of the game on your phone. UI elements for this AAA port at least doesn't really translate that well to a screen this small, and while you can technically plug this into a monitor or a TV and then use a controller, the whole idea here is that you're playing it on your phone, so you probably want to play it on the go with something like this 8-bit controller and clip. Once we have more launches, I am going to revisit this in a follow-up video, maybe like 6 months from now, but as they stand today, understand that you're accepting an early adopter experience when you're playing AAA games on your iPhone 15 Pro. On the flip side, games built for mobile experiences like Call of Duty Mobile, like 2K Mobile, like Madden Mobile, those perform very well, but with gaming on iPhone 15 Pro, we're not being sold built for mobile gaming experiences, we're being sold AAA gaming experiences, so that's where the bar has to be. On the positive side to this, I think Apple is making a legitimate run to become a more viable gaming platform as a whole. Since the launch of M1 chips on Mac, Apple has spent more and more time at each of their events really talking about gaming performance. The future is bright for AAA gaming on your iPhone, but today, it's just a first step. So in conclusion, is the iPhone 15 Pro worth it? Honestly, if you have anything newer than an iPhone 13, you're okay to continue to wait, but for me, I'm enjoying the upgrades. Don't forget to check out shirts from Into the AM. Once again, I am Danny with the DMGT. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing. I'll catch you next time.